Hey guys, this is John, and I'm playing triestino14 in the 15-minute pool on ICC. He opens with d4, let's play d5. So this player has a peak rating in the 15-minute pool of 2108, about 1,600 games played. I'm going to go with my usual Slav, semi-Slav. And he plays e3. Okay, I like bishop f5 against this line. And then e6. And the critical move here for white is knight h4, going after the bishop pair. If knight h4, I usually play bishop g6, but maybe I'll mix it up this time and play bishop e4. That's a wrinkle that black can throw in to try to unbalance the position. And the idea after knight h4, bishop e4 is to try to induce them to play f3 and then go back to g6. And black can kind of claim that f3 has made white's king a bit more airy. That's airy, not hairy. Okay, and he does play that. We'll go here. If white were to take on e4, then we have a pleasant choice between d takes and knight takes. I've always actually wondered which one is better. I've never looked it up. I would probably take with the pawn because then you'd be threatening g5. But white plays the main move, f3, just kick the bishop back. So there's a lot of similarities between this line and the bishop g6 move straight away. So queen b3 hits the pawn on b7. I have a choice between queen c7 and queen b6. I'm trying to remember what the best line usually is here. I'm just going to play queen c7. This is the line I usually play more often than queen b6. Not that queen b6 is bad, like trying to set up a exchange of queens. But I like the idea of going knight bd7 to b6. And if you watched my dual commentary match with Krzysztof Sielecki from a few weeks ago, that's exactly what I did. I used that maneuver quite a bit, actually. So bishop d2, this prepares rook c1, so let's go ahead and play knight bd7. And if rook c1 is played, I'll probably play knight c6. Okay, no, he's going to preempt us and take on d5. All right, so I could actually take with my c-pawn if I wanted. But I think it's better and more interesting to take with the e-pawn, so I'll do that. Taking with the c-pawn when the knight is on d7 I think is not so desirable. If I thought that my knight could get to c6 after taking back with the c-pawn, I might have done that, but as played, I kind of prefer this way. So if rook c1 is played, I castles instead, okay. All right, so this maybe indicates that white's going to try for a plan involving knight takes g6 followed by e4. So let me think how I want to play against that. It's a virtual guarantee that white will eliminate my light square bishop. Because if they don't, this bishop has a nice influence and stops white from playing king b1. So how best to set myself up for the coming play? Bishop e7 is a typical move, so I could start with that. On bishop e7, knight takes g6, h takes g6. I'm attacking h2 twice, but I do wonder about e4. Whether white could just break through in the middle with e4 and proceed from there. Bishop e7, knight takes g6, h takes g6, e4. D takes e4, f takes e4. Maybe knight g4 is decent there. Attacking h2 and also threatening knight f2. Yeah, actually, that should be okay. Let's play bishop e7 and get ready for this trade. I wouldn't be surprised to see them trade and then play g3 just to stop rook takes h2 entirely. That would be a safe option. King b1. Okay, so good move, just taking the king away. And white's point with this is that if I take on h2, we trade the rooks, and they can take on b7 at the end of the line. So white is not concerned about the h2 pawn because they know that b7 will also be under attack. I'm thinking of something radical here. I'm thinking of playing b5 and trying to introduce the idea of going pawn b4. So like b5, and if e4 go b4, they could play e5, I take on c3, they take f6, I could even take back and then castle. That looks pretty good. It's an intriguing move, going b5. They might play rook c1 against that. But I guess I could play something like queen b6 in that case. Okay. This has got me interested, so I'll try it. And likely now I'll play castle short if I want to whisk my king away later and try to attack white's king. I think that will be the plan. Note that if rook c1, rook takes h2 still does not work because of knight takes b5. So I have to bear in mind that white has threats down the file. So vacating the file for my queen makes a lot of sense right now. Just trying to decide between queen b6 and queen d6. So if queen b6, what if e4 directly? I take d4, attacking the bishop. But my structure is like not altogether stable. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'd like to just castle here, to be honest, but knight takes b5 is going to be the answer, so I can't really do that. I think my queen is actually pretty happy on its current square c7, if not for this knight takes b5 threat. So queen d6 is the other try. Somehow I think queen b6 is better, though. Okay, let's play queen b6. So we'll get out of the main threat. Knight takes b5. We observe the pawn on d4. Maybe we can go a5, a4 in the future. I also get ready to castle. On the whole, this is probably all right. I have taken away the ability for this knight to come to b6 and then into c4, though. So that's kind of a downer, but we'll see if that matters. g4, aggressive. All right, so white says on guard, and I'm going to attack you on the king side because I know that your king is going over there. And they would probably be correct about that. But still, I think I'll castle, and then if g5, maybe just knight e8, and try to make my way into c4 via the d6 square. So let's say castles g5, knight e8, e4, queen takes d4. That's getting sharp again. I could play g5 and try to stop them, but I don't think playing g5 is the way to go right now. I don't know. What if castles g5, knight e8, just h4? Knight d6, queen c2 perhaps? White might just keep their head down and try to bowl me over on the king side. How much faith do I have in my attacking potential on that wing? You know what? I'm going to do it because I don't see a lot of alternatives to playing this way. I mean, if I keep my king in the center too long, bad things will probably happen involving e4. I can't castle queenside anymore because the rook opposing me, so I kind of have to go short. And we're going to just try to make the best of this. So a principal line here would be g5, knight e8, h4, knight d6. And I'll try to get in knight c4 as soon as possible. Let's say queen c2 in that case. I think at some point white will want to play queen c2. Knight c4, bishop takes c4, b takes c4. I'm opening up the b file to try to get at b2. I could also play knight h5 here in response to g5 and try to block them down the file, but I think knight h5, they're just going to play h4. And then I don't have a lot of pieces going towards their king. So I like that less than doing this. So I'll play knight e8 and try to go to d6. I think white's played well so far, though. I'm not thrilled about my position. I think it's double-edged, but I would probably rate white's chances slightly better here with the bishop pair, and they might have a jump on me in the attacking department. But still a lot of chess to be played. We'll see. Maybe after knight d6, I can move this rook, like play rook d8 or something, and then maybe knight back to f8, and that could help shore up my king side. See what I can make out of this situation. I get the sense that my move 13, b5, was kind of dubious. We'll find out when we go look at the analysis, but this guy, I'm just looking at his stats again. His profile caught my eye because he has a correspondence rating of 2166. Correspondence is actually a category on ICC, and he has 107 wins, 0 losses, and 4 draws. So apparently he's a very strong correspondence player. Doesn't do as well 15-minute, but maybe I'll have my hands full this game. All right, so let's proceed as planned, knight d6. If bishop h3 attacking my knight, I could actually just play knight c4 and ignore it because of the threat of knight takes d2. So that's kind of nice. So I'm pinning a lot of hopes on this knight on d6 and trying to get into the c4 square. Because I know he'll be unable to tolerate that knight forever. He's probably going to give up his light square bishop to get rid of it. And then I can take with my b pawn and try to attack down the b file. Rook h2, that seems kind of odd for some reason. I mean, could be useful in the future defending the second rank, but it just doesn't seem like a great follow-up to g5 and h4. So if knight c4, bishop takes, b takes, how do I feel about a possible queen trade? Queen takes b6. Well, I could take with a pawn, but he'll play e4 then. I don't know how I feel about that. I sort of feel like I might want to hold off on knight e4 for a while, or knight c4 rather. Maybe go a5? a5, he might play a4. Although then I could take. So this puts me to an interesting dilemma. Like, do I play knight c4 or not? Knight c4, bishop takes c4, b takes c4, queen takes b6. I'd like to take with a pawn, but e4 is going to shatter my structure in that case, I think. Although e4, I get b5 in. Tough to say what's happening there. Not quite sure. So if not knight c4, what other moves make sense? Like rook fe8 or maybe just a5, as I was saying earlier. Maybe he's trying to prepare bishop h3 so that on knight c4, the bishop's already defended. Yeah, he might be trying to do that. So let's say knight c4, bishop takes c4, b takes c4, queen takes b6. Let's say pawn takes, and then e4, b5, take here, b4. Okay, I'm going to try it. And I have 6.5 minutes left, so let's see what happens. If e4 right here, if he doesn't take, then I can take on d4 with my queen. Okay, let's pre-move this capture as well. So bishop takes c4, b takes c4, queen takes b6. It's a tough call which way to take then. The knight or the pawn. Maybe I should take with the knight. I don't know. Pawn takes e4 is an important line. Then I was thinking b5, he takes, I go b4. That's the whole point of my play. Actually, I think that could turn out well, so let's do that. We'll take with the pawn. I also have to bear in mind that white might just try to barrel through on the king side, like doubling up their rooks. Okay, so this is my idea now. So if take b4, if he takes c6, then I take here and I'm hitting the bishop. That's my point. And if d6, I take with the bishop, and the knight and the rook are under attack. So I think this in-between move is going to force white's knight away somewhere, probably to e2. And then I can take here. And then maybe try to attack them down the a file. Try to wrest the initiative away from white. Yep, he does that. Okay, so let's take. So now I've made some headway on the queen side. I'm not sure he saw this idea coming. Here I could play bishop d6 if I wanted. Bishop d6, which indirectly defends this d-pawn. Yeah, that improves the bishop a little bit too, so let's do that. Just pin him. He's playing pretty quick. Rook a5 also might have made sense there. I'm still a little concerned about h5. I want to watch h5 and make sure that doesn't hurt me too bad. Because if he can play either h5 and then double the rooks, or just double the rooks right away, I could be in danger. Okay, so what now? Knight takes d5 as a threat. Do I play rook a5? Let's say rook h5, rook h1, rook fa8, h5. There's also the possibility of rook a5 and just a3. But you know what? Then I can take on f4 and then take on a3, so that's got to be good for me. Rook a5, rook c to h1, double up the rooks, h5. What if I just play knight f8 then? I don't know. Rook a5, rook here. I can also play c3. Not to mention there's c3 right away, but if c3 right away, he takes, and then takes with a rook. That's what I didn't like about that. Okay, let's do this. I have faith in my ability to get at him on the queen side before he gets at me on the king side. So after rook here, he's just going to go h5 right away. Interesting. Maybe I just let him go take g6. It takes a while, so maybe I can just, yeah, play rook here and get ready to crash through on a2. All right, do your worst. Let's see it. Because now, I mean, if I get a few more moves, I'm just going to play rook takes a2, b3, and rook a1 checkmate. So things could be coming to a head here very soon. This is a race situation. Playing my rook over also frees up knight f8 if I ever want to cover some squares on my king side. I think if he takes on g6, I'm pretty happy, because I get f7 for my king. That looks promising. And he's going to bail out with his king. Okay. Maybe c3 now? Or just take on a2. Which one? c3, pawn takes, king takes. And then I can check here. He goes back. I check again. Oh, that's winning material for me. So on c3, he might have to play pawn takes, bishop e3. But I have to believe that's also very good for me. All right, so let's do it this way. This is pretty forcing, if it works. You know what? After pawn takes, I don't even have to take back. I can just play rook takes a2 right away. That's by far the best way to do it, I think. So hence he moves the bishop immediately. Now, do I take f4, or do I just take on a2 right away? If I take a2, he can play knight takes d5. There might be hope for him. So maybe bishop takes f4 is just the clinical way to get this done. Bishop takes, rook takes a2. Yeah, let's do that. Let's just get rid of that pesky knight so it can't take on d5. He's not going to hurt us on the h-file. He doesn't have enough presence there. We're just threatening rook takes b2 in the meantime. I think rook b1 is actually just forced right now. So you're going to let me take here? Take king d3, I take g6. That's got to be winning.
Check.
Yeah. So we'll just recapture now. There's no rook d2 mate. He's got his bishop, but everything else is crumbling for him. I can play rook a2 next and threaten rook d2 checkmate. So if like rook c to f1, I bring the other rook in and yeah, rook d2. Oh no, sorry, rook d2 is not a mate because he has e3 available. But that's still pretty good for me, I think. Doubling up the rooks on the second rank. So maybe on rook over here, I would just play king f7. Just get my king out. Yeah, that would be good. Two and a half minutes, I think we can get this done. Up 2 pawns and his king is on the run. So now we just stop rook h8 with check. You could still play rook h8, of course, if you wanted to. These pawns could prove a little difficult to advance. Like, note I can't play b3 because of king takes c3, so maybe I'd want to lead with the c pawn. I'll just have to stop black or stop white from getting a blockade. Hard for him to attack me here. This is kind of nice. Yeah, maybe just go c2 next. c2 might even threaten rook a3 check. Bishop e5. So I guess he's going after the g7 pawn. Not much else that move does. I can play rook d2 check, king over, but that doesn't do much. Rook d2 check, king over, knight takes e5 take, d4 check. I think that's unnecessary. Maybe he's trying to play bishop takes g7, actually. I think that's the main plan. You know what I'm just going to do? I'm just going to take that piece and then probably play c2 next. Then we don't have to worry about any bishop takes g7 or any threat towards my king, really. b3 is coming next move, or rook a3 check. Too hard for white to defend. All the resources are on the king side as well. Okay, so he plays rook over. Just play b3. Rook h1 seems forced now. But then I can play this rook over and b2 is coming. Or maybe I want to go rook c8 to start. Yeah, actually rook c8 is probably more accurate. Rook c8, rook a1, rook a2, take, take. Yeah, and one of those pawns is queening. Let's go here. Just to stop king c3. Might as well disallow him from getting a little bit closer. king up, okay. So rook over now. b2 on the horizon. Push the pawns.
Check.
Passed pawns must be pushed, as the saying goes. King e7. Am I at all fearful of rook h7 somewhere? Probably not. I don't see how that would ever work for white. Yeah, I think it's resigns time for him. All right, he did resign. So a race scenario played out in this one after he castled long and then I subsequently castled short. Goes to show you how important like each and every tempo is in a race. I think he was doing fine up through right around here maybe. Actually, even after this, his position's probably okay, but I don't see rook h2 being the most efficient way to start white's attack. We'll go back and have a look at it. So this is a slow Slav with e3, bishop f5. White went after the bishop pair. As I was commenting, I usually play bishop g6, but bishop e4 is kind of fun to play once in a while. If I absolutely had to win a game, I'd probably be more likely to play bishop e4 than bishop g6, just because it does induce f3. I was mentioning if white takes, like you can actually take either way, I believe, but d takes carries with it the threat of g5. Note that the white knight has been deprived of the f3 retreat square. So that's one nice benefit to taking with the pawn. But white played f3, and I retreated the bishop. I have a feeling a lot of this is theory. I just don't know this line as well as bishop g6. I'm going to add the engine right about here. King b1. So the pawn on h2 is now hanging, but if I were to go after this, I allow queen takes b7 at the end of the line, attacking the rook and also the pawn on c6. I don't want to do this. So that's why I played b5 instead, just advancing. But I commented in the game, I thought this might be dubious. The computer really wants to just play queen b6 and offer a trade. Yeah, I'll have to check the theory in this game. I mean, I could try to make some approximation and tell you what I think should happen from here, but I don't know the theory of this line, so I would just be guessing. But I'm pretty sure b5 is not a good move. Rook c1, and now this was annoying because I had to put my queen on an undesirable square. I played queen b6. Maybe queen d6 should be preferred in retrospect because then I can try for knight b6 and into c4, so I don't take away this square from my knight. So I played queen b6, and white started the attack with g4, castles, and now g5. The engine also says h4 is a good move. Maybe trying to dispense with g5 altogether and just play h5. Because in some ways, white playing g5 does spur my knight on to eventually occupying the c4 square. Or maybe it just likes for black knight h5, trying to block the h-file. Still promising for white, but I could see why just h4 instead and maybe changing the move order slightly, keeping the knight on f6 is preferable as far as developing white's attack. So here I played knight e8, h4, knight d6. I need counterplay, so it's imperative that I get my knight into c4. Yeah, and the engine doesn't like that move, rook h2. It says just queen c2 right away. And if knight c4, just take it. And then what, play h5? Yeah, I was kind of worried about some brute force approach like this. And white is threatening to take on g6 and win. If I take here, rook takes, queen h7, mate is the threat. And if something like g6, they can actually... I was wondering if they could even do this move and just give up the rook on h5, because queen h7 is still a threat. This might get a little messy, but boy, this looks dangerous for black.
Check. Check.
And they can even just go over and win the other rook. And white is up a pawn with an ongoing initiative. Yeah, so something like that should be preferred by white, like queen c2, and just leave the rook here and try to play for h5. So in this case, the engine says my best bet is here, h5, take. Now I would assume if rook takes, the idea is knight f8 or g6. Yeah, and maybe knight f8 if necessary. Yeah, it still looks complicated, but this does seem like a better way of trying to harm me compared to the game. Like rook h2 didn't strike me as a fearsome move. Now I get knight c4 in. White took. I took with a b pawn. The engine really likes d takes better. Seems more natural to take towards the center with the b pawn, but d takes is not a move I thought about that much. Why does it dislike d takes so much? Once again, it says queen c2 is the way to go. Just retaining the queens. Rook fb8. Rook ch1, and it prefers white in the coming race. Yeah, I mean, if this scenario plays out, like white has exactly one weakness, and it's on b2. And I have the entire h-file as a weakness. And h5 is looming. And it's very hard for me to get at b2 more than I am already. Like, even if bishop here, they could always just play, like, bishop c1 if they needed to. So I think the engine is liking white a lot here because it just sees a more clear way for white to start their attack, whereas black is going to struggle to get off the ground. Yeah, and I think my b5 move way back on move 13, like, these were the consequences of it. b5 is probably not the most conducive move to attacking white's queenside. So they took here, and I was able to take with the pawn. So I think crucial in this is the fact that after e4, this b5 move is playable. If b5 was not playable, I think I still like white's chances, because, like, say I had to take here, maybe it's not a huge edge for white, but it just seemed like I was giving up my center, and the c4 pawn might be vulnerable. But I really like the fact that b5, take here, b4 works for me. Because if they try to do something other than moving the knight, like do this, the knight takes c3, and I'm getting at the bishop on d2. So this would win me a piece. So after b4, they have to move the knight. They played knight e2. I took here, knight f4, attacking the d5 pawn. Here I thought maybe rook a5 was worth consideration. But in a lot of scenarios, it was helpful to be able to eliminate the knight on f4, so maybe bishop d6 is not bad. And here they move the rook again. That might also be too slow, playing rook h3. I think I would be more concerned about something direct like h5, or maybe even just doubling up the rooks. Yeah, and this position's messy. I don't know exactly what's happening. Rook fb8, rook ch1, getting ready to open the file. Knight f8, there's that move, comes in handy. Take with the knight. It prefers black, yeah, because if take here, I assume... Oh, I thought this move, but maybe not. Knight e7. Knight e7, king here, and then take on d5, and I can't move my attacked bishop because of mate. But instead, I can just play f takes g6, and my king is going to wiggle out through f7. Yeah, so black has more defensive resources here than if the queens had been left on board. Also, the pawn structure transformation has been favorable to black, no doubt about it, and I get the a file to attack down. But I think white has to find a better way of pressuring me, because like this move rook h2 on move 18 and now rook h3, it's just a little too slow, I believe. Here the engine likes knight b6. I was thinking it'd be better to keep my knight so I can retain the option of playing knight f8, helping out my king. So that's why I played rook a5, simultaneously defending the pawn and preparing the doubling. h5, rook fa8. Yeah, and here they bailed with king c2, which seems pretty desperate. But let's say h takes g6 is played. I think I was just going to take back like this. Then knight takes, rook takes a2, check.
Check.
King here, trade. The engine says this is not so bad for white. Rook e1 at the end of the line. So if I take, then check here. And it says black's a little bit better, but not by much. So maybe white has one or two ways to defend, but probably not after king c2. I think after king c2, they're just headed for the hills, and it's not going to end well for them. Yeah, c3 I think was an accurate move here. I don't even need rook takes a2 yet. Because the point is, if they take here, I actually don't even have to capture. It took me a second to realize that, but I could actually just play this. And then if their king comes up, we take here, winning the house. King takes, bishop takes f4, skewer. Black's going to be up a lot of material in a second. So after c3, he was practically forced to move the bishop. And now I took f4. Ah, I missed rook e8. Rook e8's a nice move, attacking the bishop. Bishop takes f4 seemed safe enough for me, so I just did that. And then took on a2, and I don't think white's kingside play is amounting to anything.
Check.
Yeah, and probably here they should play rook b1 and at least try to defend the b2 pawn. It's not going to be enough, but maybe that gives me some more issues than if they simply allow me to take on b2 with check. So knight b6 is good, trying to head into c4. Yeah, and it looks like black's king is completely safe on its own, so not much to be done here for white. But they took
Check.
here, and I got to take on b2 with check, and then just took back. And I think did a good job of converting from here, not letting
Check.
white get any counterplay. Like even this move, I saw that bishop takes g7 followed by rook h7. If I were to take the bishop, could be a threat. So
Check.
just get rid of the bishop. Why not? Yeah, I'm pretty sure at this point there's a couple ways to do this, but we were just able to advance the pawns. I thought white would play after rook c8 like this move, at least try for some activity, but rook a2 kills white's hopes here. And after take and take, I'm threatening c1 queen. And if they try to stop this with this, I queen the other pawn, force them to take, and then queen, and I win the rook and the game. Okay, so yeah, this one just kind of boiled down to tempos. White wasted a couple tempos, especially with rook h2 and rook h3. And I was able to get a counterattack going on the queen side and successfully avoided getting mated on the king side. So I'll have to look this line up, though, because I think I could improve my opening play. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I'll be back again soon with another video. Talk to you guys later. Bye.